If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Now download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Now you're tuned in to Uncomfortable In-House Conversations with HB, the podcast.
Hey, how y'all doing today? Welcome to Uncomfortable In-House Conversations with HB. I know I've been gone for a while. Part of that is, due to life circumstances, and also too, part of what I do, I'm kind of a perfectionist. So, especially when I have my name on something, I want to be able to give you the best content and, do things the right way. With that being said, I'm pretty much known to have different special guests. I'm still going to do that. But also, due to, again, like I said, changes and, people, going through their things day to day, I'm not able to do that quite yet. But I promise I am coming back with you. But today I want to have a conversation with you guys. I need all my black people to come to the congregation. So come on, get a little closer here. It's been a lot of things going on in our in society today that's been, if you can say, it's changing the dynamic of things. Excuse me. One of them is, for me, in the whole totality of everything, it basically is when it comes down to just us as a people. I don't know where it started or where we began to think or feel this entitled or elitist way. And it has become the difference between the have and have-nots. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, just give me a moment, just follow me. So one of the things, one of the current events that just, recently happened, I'm sure you've been watching the news just like me and everybody else. The situations that came down to the the officers, and I'm gonna call it what it is: the black police officers that beat this unarmed black man for no reason. It's very disheartening. It's frustrating because it's no longer. So here's the thing. When we grew up, we used to make all kind of jokes. Black folks are gonna come in our community. So it used to be a thing where we would say we'll hear different stories without knowing anything and be like, okay, that's white people shit. Then we'll see other things and be like, okay, that's black people shit. There is no more the differentiation between the two now. And it's weird. Not only is it weird, it's damn near, it's a shame. I don't know if it's the system, if it has gotten to a point where it has was designed to overall become this way, but I understand when they say about the divide, and just a lot of us actually too have gotten in the slave mentality, good or bad, just you thinking you better than where they had the house Negro and the field Negro. And this, a lot of time it comes down to it. And for me, this situation is it's more disheartening than anything because, I was just talking the other day, we as black people, we don't get to walk around like most, let's say, our other Caucasian counterparts, as far as being in the positions of power. Everything that we do, we are looked upon as, because people are behind us, that's looking up to us. We don't have that many people that's in any kind of position of power. So when you do, we have your aunts, your uncles, people in the community, they're holding you to a certain standard because they understand, like, if you get in a situation and you mess up, that's gonna mess it up for the next person behind you. Like, it can put us back 5 or 10 years. Just think about the first black president. He had to be damn near, to be honest, so to speak, to be funny, damn near perfect. You know what I mean? Like, just think about it. If he had everything that Donald Trump had at the time, he had the baby mamas, strike, that would have been that. Bankruptcy, he don't know how to, he got bad credit. Like, anything that had went through, no kind of domestic violence, nothing of that sort. So even then, he still was criticized. It's either you're doing too much or you're not doing, and he got to a point where his hands was tied, because I know in the back of his mind he was thinking that anything he tried to do extra for black people, that's the first thing they're gonna say. See, exactly, I knew that's what he came here to do. He want to do this, he want to do that. Even though, case in point, it would have been warranted, but again, even in that syndrome, that's what we have to have. So, watching that recording, of course, it's disgusting. And it puts me in a place, emotionally, it's different. And this is what I mean when I say this. So when I watch, as we all watch, different things that happen when white police officers have done, things to us, it puts you in a space of anger. It puts you in a space of anger where you want to do something because you just get tired of people fucking with you. It's just like, there's no consequence and I'm tired of it. You know what I mean? And it just makes you angry, and it's just like on some being funny, like the old Rick James, he used to say, like, fuck your couch, nigga. Like, that's just how, I'm trying to get balance here. With this situation, being black police officers is very disappointing. It's disappointing because you know better. Not only that you not know better, you understand. And I can't fathom or understand or correlate any kind of thought process that would make them jump on and beat this man that bad. Not only beat him that bad, you made up a whole lie about him driving erratically, and these are things that we deal with. That's those are tactics that we deal with the media and police department. I remember some years ago when I worked for the state attorney's office, it was a big case that happened where the FBI agent, he was driving the wrong way, but at the time it was there were two young boys that were coming from church, and this is how God worked. At the time when we first heard it, again, social media wasn't, but there was no social media at all. And I just remember when we first heard it, the police put it where the kids were coming in the wrong direction. And I think they just basically did it just with the thought process of, in their mind, young black men, it's late, they had to be doing something. So hopefully we get lucky in something, but by the grace of God, and I just think that's just one of them things I think God put his finger on, that these kids were just coming from church. They were very well mannered, and they were going home. And this man, he was a former FBI agent, and he came the wrong way and he hit these kids head on. Narrowly he did get convicted, but it just put me in the case of that, like, for you guys to sit there and make that up and to beat that person. Now, side note, I heard, again, I don't like to go on, he say, she say, but again, I'm trying to make sense of it. I heard that he maybe was messing with one of the police officers' baby mama or something like that, which is still, it doesn't matter at all. It just still shows me that the bitch assness as some men have. For you, that's just not manly. And just the fact that you did it because you can. I don't know. That's just not us. And I don't. That's not a spirit that we have. And it's very confusing. On top of, along with what I'm saying, it's a guy by the name Jason Whitlock. I don't know if some of you know him. He was a sportcaster or whatever, but he's really irrelevant now. But it's the cooning. And he has said some things before in the past that, it just kind of like, wow. But this one here, if you guys go ahead and you go look it up, he made a comment. He was on the Tucker Carlson show, and he said that he looked at it and he said he didn't see nothing more than it just looked like a gang mentality. He said it was like 5 guys beating up on one guy. First of all, they were police officers. They're paid public servants. And he just deemed it down just as that. But the bigger issue that he said was, this is what comes about when you have a black woman running the department. Now that caught me off guard. It caught me off guard because I was trying to understand how he could correlate, and again, as much as, I have conversations if you're, I'm going to have other shows about, single moms and, how they treat their sons and, those things, but that had nothing to do with this situation because I want to be clear, there are so many black women that run companies. There are so many black women that just are awesome. Hell, we have the vice president, she's a black woman. So it's just disgusting that he would even just come up with that. And it's just like, who raised you Negroes? You know what I mean? And it's very disheartening. It's very frustrating that just the mindsets that, people have and the thing, I am about accountability. And one of the things about being accountability, we as blacks, and I keep have to reiterate this, whenever you are put in a position of power, I want you to be cognizant of there's not many of us in these positions because no matter what we want or what we think, how special or how good you are, we're going to get some, but we ain't going to ever get the same level. It's never going to happen. Slowly but surely I see things change, but every time certain things happen, we always have 1 or 2 Negroes come in and undermine us. And it's frustrating, along with that, segue into that situation because again, I don't want to stick to because that was I don't want to get too emotional about that because it is what it is, and we see the justice system is going to prevail because again, at the end of the day, truth of the matter is, besides them being cops, guess why it's going to be easy? Because it's black on black crime. That's something nobody gonna want to talk about. Because I'd be damned, some years ago when Rodney King got his ass whooped, it was a long case. And as as bad as it seemed, and at the time, even him being wrong, it just, and they still got acquitted. This here, nobody's arguing, nobody's blinking an eye, nobody really cares. The justice happened that quick. Think about it, people. Because it was blacks on a black person, it happened that quick. They didn't say, well, hold on, we got to see, or anything. They fired their ass. Fired their ass, gonna prosecute them. And here's the thing. One of the people that was in it was the one white cop who pepper sprayed him. Nothing to be said. But also segue into that conversation, I want to talk about HBCUs. Yeah. And my college, my school, Bethune-Cookman University. And this here, I'm going to talk about this because this is personal. So, here's the funny thing. My thing about Bethune-Cookman. So, like most of us, when we thought we heard about, really, to be honest, I'm going to be honest, at my time, I didn't really hear too much about HBCUs. I mean, I heard about it, but it wasn't really a thing like now. So, I went to Dillard, played basketball, and, went to different schools, went to visit it. I initially signed to go to Tennessee State University. At time, also, one of my classmates, one of the coaches, ended up going there. A very good friend. Graduated from there. Great school. I didn't go. Changed my mind. I didn't want to go to FAMU. So at last minute, I was like, bump it. My mom was like, you guys finna go somewhere. So, one of great mentors, he went to Boyd Anderson, Coach King. Coach King, what's up, Holmes? Anybody know Coach King? Coach King is the bomb. So Coach King was like, Holmes, you ever thought about going to my school? And I was like, what was your school? He was like, Cookman. And I was like, I heard of it, but I didn't, So, and excuse my ignorance, I don't know how to be nothing else but just keep it 100. So, what got me to go, so he said, hold on, let me call the coach. At the time, he reached out and he's like, I didn't think he'd be in our radar, and I was just, I guess, I didn't want to go to a JUCO, so he said, okay, let him, come up here and see. I end up going. And the reason why I went, they was telling me the girls at the time, the ratio from boys to girls was 4-1. Yeah, that ain't too smart. But yeah, at the time that was where my mind was. That was like, what do you mean ratio from 4? Yeah, it's like for every one boy, there are 4 girls. So Holmes, you're going to have a good time in college. Bam! I was sold. Needless to say, at my first, day I got there, it was nothing like it was nothing that what I thought it was going to be, but it was the best thing that it could have ever happened to me. Because it was like home. It really was. It was like home. It was just home without my parents there. It was all the kids there. And I just had so many great experiences. I learned a lot. One of my stories, homegrown, was a tragic story, and it goes back to a little bit. Me and my dad, we had a conversation before I left to go to school. He said to me, "Now, when you go to school, there's things that's gonna happen that I'm not gonna be there for." And I'm going to want you to understand, remember your foundation, because you're going to make mistakes. I want you to know that, and I understand that you are going to make mistakes, and we can't stop you from making mistakes. But I just pray that you understand that everything you do, there are going to be consequences, good and bad consequences that you're going to have to deal with. And I hope within those consequences, you're going to be able to deal with them. And if you remember that and understand and think before you make a decision, that whatever you do, will you be able to deal with it? That's going to kind of help you along the way. And what you did. Met a lot of good people, great friends, a lot of girls. But again, I learned a lot about Black history. I learned a lot about Miss Bethune, just one of the pioneers, which is, again, going back to that idiot that made that comment, just this wonderful lady who just had a dream, and what she wanted was to get those students who wasn't straight A students, the students who wasn't academically acclaimed, those students who just had a dream and they just needed a chance. And I always admired that. And that's why it fit the bill for me. Because again, she was rough around the edges. She, you wasn't perfect. She got those kids that, a lot of times society just didn't understand. And so it's disheartening when the process as a whole to go after, to get Ed Reed. From that perspective, it was very frustrating of the outcome. Because I look at it, for me, I look at it just as simple as this. And this is what I deal with every day as, just us in the community. A lot of us can't get shit done because we have egos. We have egos and we can't deal with shit because the bitch assness because our feelings is hurt. Because the truth of the matter is, there was nothing that he didn't say that was wrong. Now, I get people to, they on the sides, and everybody have their opinion, they have their right to have their opinion, and they say stuff like, you can't bash your employer, and, da-da-da-da. But we all know that there are concessions for everything you do, even at work. There are certain people that can do certain shit that other people can't. You understand what I'm saying? So, for instance, you cannot tell me, say hypothetically speaking, Michael Jordan comes to the school and he wants to coach. And he comes and does the same damn thing. Explain to me what you're going to say that you ain't hiring Michael Jordan. Because why? Because he put your ass on blast. He said some shit that you didn't like. Because nothing he said was not a lie. And we all know, and it's not just it's not just Bethune. There's a lot of the things that are not spoken in the HBCU's community. And I get it because we are emotionally and we are whole dear because that's something that we can honestly say that's ours. And for me, it's the equivalent of us being in the Black community where you have, and I truly mean this, and I ain't mixing words, and in our community where we have the uncle or the cousin that's a molester, and we're not going to talk about him. We're just going to put him in the room. When the kids come, just put him in the room. He ain't going to come out, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not okay. Because you don't want to embarrass the family. And that is the equivalent for me that's going on. Because when it comes down to it, you have to be able to speak. Because it's one thing for certain, two things for sure that happened in this situation with Ed Reed. If he didn't speak, none of what's happening now wouldn't be happening. We wouldn't be talking about the mold. We wouldn't be talking about the kids with the helmet or any of it. We wouldn't be talking about none of this. He shed light on that. And okay, it's cool, it's embarrassing. I get it. It is. It's no different when we make, because probably next year, we have to be ready. When we play our rival FAMU or any other school, they're going to be talking about this. And you got to be able to take it. Side note, no different from when, we made jokes about FAM. These are things that's really happening in our community. And one of the things that's happening in the community is we need to start with these Black gatekeepers. And those are the ones that's just been in position of power for a long time and they ain't doing shit. And when I say they ain't doing shit, they ain't doing shit. They ain't helping the school, they ain't doing shit. They just sitting there and getting paid. And it's just to me, I just see the culture of it. And for me, that's very frustrating and disheartening because, again, even when I was in school, they had people embezzling money in the financial aid department. And I ain't just Cookman, there's all other HBCUs. That's why we get into these financial problems. So it's one or two things that needs to happen. Either you need to put people in place that can make sure things are being accountable, or you need to get people in that know what they're doing. Because again, I don't know, maybe if it's intentional or it wasn't intentional. All I know is that man wasn't lying. And the fact that he came to the school and came 3 weeks early because he was ready to work. He was ready to work. He was ready to do what it needed to do to bring this program up. Because here's another unspoken truth. Most of our star athletes, 5-star, 4-star athletes, other people that don't really understand how it works when it comes to sports. A lot of them would love to go to HBCUs. But here's the thing. Why would I when I could go to Duke or I could go to Florida State or I could go to UM and hell, they see this when they go to these schools and because they get all these things that they don't have to deal with from here. And I think what starting with Deion Sanders, Coach Prime was doing in their way of paying homage and coming back and saying, okay, look, I want to take this opportunity to give back to try and show people it can be done. And even that is frustrating with my people that they were upset that he left. Listen, here's my thing. And that's anything in life. Even in a relationship, if a motherfucker leave you, if he leave you or she leaves you and you in a better position than what the fuck you was when they left you, like, get out your fucking feelings and take that and run and do better. If a person leaves you in a position that you are way better than when the fuck they were with you, that's called a blessing. Nobody owe you nothing. And I just, for the life of me, don't understand how people would be able to be upset or because kind of like, well, he promised he was going to do this. He did everything that he said he was going to do. And I'm talking about Coach Prime and more. At the end of the day, when we run our business, we're here to get paid. There is no way in hell that you're going to leave somewhere. I don't know how much he was supposed to get paid at Jackson State, but I know it was nothing to compare when it came to where he at now, the University of Colorado, in the millions. And it ain't personal. It's what they say. It's business. It's business. Hell, if I'm working at a job now and I go look at other jobs, I don't care how long it is I've been or how much the kids love me. If I go to another job and they're going to pay me more, it's not personal. I still love, it's nothing personal. Why is it that we get strong-armed and held to the standards like we have to do this? And then when you get in the situation of this with Ed Reed, who's actually trying to do it, I want you to do it, but I want you to do it this way. Here's the take about it. If your way ain't working. Say it again. Your way not working. That's why they was putting him in this position. And unfortunately, I think in this situation, you put in place where that might have set us back 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Because again, I saw, they came back and they said whatever with the, as far as the school and what they wanted to do. And, they got former players and all that there. But again, for me, all that is bravado and just talk. Because if that's the case, all that would have been happening in the first place. So miss me with that. You know what I mean? Just miss me with that. You had some, because at the end of the day, he did at least admit he was wrong. He handled it the wrong way. And just like him, most people, me myself too, when I'm passionate about something and I'm speaking on it, at the end of the day, I can assure you that I'm coming from a good place. It might not always come out right, but check the message. You understand what I'm saying? For us, we get so caught up into, well, you should have said it like this, or he shouldn't have came at me like this. Okay, you could be get ready to get a blessings and you upset because in which my tone, I said that you ain't understand it frustrated you or it made you feel away. We as people need to get out our feelings and check our egos at the door. A lot of things happen with us in a whole totality of things is because of our egos. And this is part of why I was saying, even in what I'm doing, I try to put myself in a position where I'm understanding that the best thing about control is when you have no control at all. And a lot of times I understand that, our ego is good, but you can't have it in a way so much that it gets you in trouble. One of the things the old people say, you can't cut your nose to spite your face. And a lot of times that's what we do. That's what we do when we do in our regular lives. We do this, with our kids. We just do this with our loved ones because you're trying to prove a point. Why? Well, what is the point you're trying to prove? Getting back to the school, at the end of the day, if this man within 3 weeks went in and started making moves and making changes, and again, he said some things that, maybe he maybe should have talked to them about it, but again, he didn't lie. For me, he didn't lie. And the thing is, going back to my original statement when I said about Miss Mary, one of the things, she invited people like that, rough around the edges, and learned to want to teach them the right way. So what I believe what should have done after he apologized, I think the thing is that he wanted to give them, they should have gave him grace. You know what I mean? They literally should have gave him grace. And that's what should have happened. He should have gave them grace. But because we have a lot of elitists when it comes down to our people, like the president, and when you get to the board of trustees and they won't even come talk to the people, that's a problem. Because you're dealing with a school, it's a private school. So it literally is the people, they are the ones that's gonna support you because you're not getting funds from the state. If you're so arrogant that you feel that you can't talk to people and you can't address them, or you want to address them in a form in which you control the situation, that's a problem for me. It is. Ultimately, it's a problem for me. We have a lot of great people coming out of HBCUs. And one of the things that it shouldn't be when our kids go to school, we should not have to worry about things of that nature. Going back, I left the story. And I was telling you one of the things that happened, it was tragic. So my freshman year, I know my boy, he ain't out here, but I'm telling him to watch. My boy Foots, he gonna remember. It was a situation in which we had where, even right now, I don't like to go to clubs where it's one interest in, one interest out. But anyway, if some people, they see this, they're gonna remember. I was in Bronson. Shit, man, that dorm was crazy. We were crazy. But we all, friends, cool, first day I got there, I'm from Lauderdale. That's, when you from there, you throw out them L's. That's what we did. We, Dade County, they said they thing. People from, Jacksonville, Duval, and, so forth and so on. I met this kid, football player. Good kid. He comes from Gainesville, man. One of the things that stuck out with me about when he came to play football, he had a life size. That's the first time I ever seen like just a person. He had like a life size of what it is. I think like a picture of himself, whatever. But he used to go down and he used to go to church and stuff. I was like, nigga, ain't going to church. Like I did that enough when I was home. I'm just finna have fun. But one night we decided to we went to this club. And here's the thing: when you're in a college town, you have this thing. I don't know if they still call them. We call them locals. Locals are people that are from that town, that city. I don't know why we did it, but we made jokes or whatever. We talk about locals. But at that time, locals pretty much didn't like us. Understand, because we were a little arrogant, or we might have thought that it came across as we was better than them, right? So we went and there and we're talking and and we're in the club and one thing led to another. It was a fight broke out. So it's like football players and the locals, whatever, they start fighting. So we're coming out, everybody coming out, we're coming out, and what ended up happening was as we were coming out. I don't know. It was me, a couple of my friends. But anyway, make a long story short, he got stabbed. He got stabbed in the back. I just remember he coming out, he had blood pouring down his pants. Now, that's the first time I ever seen anything like that before. They kind of picked him up, carried. And also, too, at the time, Daytona Beach. Yeah, Daytona is where it's underclothes. It was racist. It was a racist town. Hell, that year, I think, the Ku Klux Klan, that they came to protest. I don't know. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole. But make a long story short, he passed away. He got stabbed, lost a lot of blood. He died. Now, the thing about that was, it was very significant to me because that was the first time I've witnessed something as a 18-year-old, something of that magnitude. So the first thing I did, I went home. And for the kids back then, we didn't have cell phones. There was no cell phones. Cell phones was for rich people. We didn't have no cell phones, and they had black phones. So I went home, I went back. So what we either had back then, you had like calling cards that you go to the store and call, or you calling your parents, we call collect. So what I end up doing is I got to the dorm and kind of settled myself down. I called my parents, and my mom picked up the phone. I think it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And I was just crying, and they couldn't really get what was going on. Just really upset, really emotional. And my mom was like, I just remember she was just like, all right, let's go. We're finna go get him, da-da-da. And my dad got the phone. He was like, settle down. And I'm like crying, like, what do you mean? I don't want to be here no more. This is crazy. You're killing people, being real extra. But again, it was a traumatic experience. I didn't know how to deal. What ended up happening was my dad got the phone and he told me, I want you to remember when me and you had a conversation before you left. I told you it's going to be things that's going to happen traumatic, and I want you, it's not what's going to happen, it's going to be how you deal with it. And I'm not telling you that you can't come home, but what I'm telling you is that I want you to take a moment, because you have to understand what you came up to go to school for. So my mom's like screaming, telling him, what the hell are you talking about? Like, shut up, I'm gonna go get my child. Like a mother would do. But I did. I took a moment, and he said, get yourself, call me back in an hour. If you want me to come get you, I will come get you. And I said, okay. Sat down, hung the phone up. I'm looking crazy because I'm trying to take in everything that just happened with the events. I settled down and I called him back and I told him I was okay, which I wasn't, but that was just one of the things that happened. I had a lot of good things that happened, but when it comes down to it, being at an HBCU, you learn real life things and you learn real life situations with people of your peers. From all sorts of different places, Haines City, from out of state. Just, at one point I didn't know, hell, Florida had all these little towns. But again, it's so many good things that came out of that, when it comes to HBCUs overall, that you can't you can't put a dollar sign on it. And just for a situation like this to happen and to be tainted, because at this point we should be way further than where we are when we're talking about when we come down to our kids. I always say, you always want your kids to be better than you were, or being in a better position that you were in. And just right now, the direction that it's going in, and again, it's just not just Bethune-Cookman, is a lot of HBCUs, man. And if anything, I hope that came out of this is we snatch, the veil off and start with the protection, because it's our stuff. I'm one of the people to say, the first person to say all the time, like, I'm going to speak up for my people. And it's a lot of things that's happened that unjustly happened to us, whether it's systematically or just straight up just racist. But we don't help ourselves. We do not help ourselves, because again, a lot of us, when we get in a position of power, we feel that we are better than the people that's under us. And a lot of times, I try to tell my kids, at the end of the day, the system is looked upon us. We are shiny things. I make a joke all the time with one of my good friends. I tell her that we're shiny little things. And when I use the word shiny little things, it means that some people are in a position because they can be controlled. And I'm just gonna say it like that. A lot of people are people get these deals. Some of these rappers are football players because they are only concerned about themselves. So again, people like Colin Kaepernick, that happened some years ago, that people were looking like, well, it's the flag, and it's one of them things that I say, exactly what's going on and what's happening. And if you don't, and again, if any point of time we as people, if we actually stood together for something, instead of always dissecting and deflecting, and he's not part of this, and he went to that, and he didn't do this, and he ain't all the way black, and he's this. If we just understand the point in which everything is happening, we will all be in a better position than where we're at right now. We're not always gonna, do the right things, and we're always not gonna make the best decisions. But if you do it wholeheartedly and you do it with good intentions, it will always work itself out. And again, like I said, I didn't want to stick too much on the situation, what happened with the police officers, because I don't want to trigger myself. It's really disheartening. I just can't fathom why black men, it's enough that we do it, and I'm gonna be honest, fuck it, that we do it to each other with black on black crime, but for you to be able to do that and better. It's one thing that, some of these kids, they, in their mind, they don't have nothing to live for, or they don't have anything. You know better. You have people that's behind you. You have kids, you have nieces, you have nephews. You have people that look at you sometimes and say, hey, I want to be a police officer. And that's a great profession, because you are servicing the community. You are doing things that people should look up to you for. They're like, at the end of the day, besides being a sports star, they should look up to you as a police officer. You should be more personable in the community. It should not be where a kid see a police officer and he want to put his head down because he think you can harass him. We should be more hands-on. Even things with the coaches, you should be able to talk to these kids and have compassion and understanding that, again, I tell kids all the time, sometimes we have bad days, and I understand they have bad days. But you have to be mindful, and when you know better, you should do better. Again, going back to the situation with my school, it's disappointing because for me, it just comes down to egos. It just comes down to egos. You cannot change when you can't get rid of anything when a person have very good intentions. And you could just hear the passion in this man's voice. And again, where he came from. He explained from Louisiana, which is, at one point, it was like people not, the minimum wage was really low. So he understands to be able to uplift these kids. And he has the blueprint to know what's going on. He didn't need to coach here. He was already in the NFL coaching. So that shows, the tenacity and things that he wanted to have. And so right now, those are my thoughts. Check me out next week. Hopefully I will have a guest and we're going to get back on point. And yeah, we're going to be talking about some things that's very uncomfortable. But again, I thank you and I appreciate you guys for listening. Hit me in the comments. Tell me what you think. Tell me your opinions. We'll go from there. And again, thank you for tuning in to Uncomfortable In-House Conversations with HB. And y'all have a good night.